Hello, everybody, and welcome to another webinar. I am your host, Ferma Henry, and I am a product designer based in Johannesburg. I like to think of myself also as a digital strategist. I run design sprints to help the clients and the teams that I work with build better products faster. I just think this is a method that really works, and it's just proven itself over and over to myself again. So what is it that I do exactly? So I usually work in the UX designer role, as vague as that really is in South Africa and I guess in other places of the world. But basically, I help agile teams across South Africa to build better products faster by working the experience really, and joining the gap between the business and the customer. And I do this using design sprints, and mainly in the design sprint my main role is facilitation and training, but I also do a lot of the data work, which is part of the design work in the prototyping, and some of the testing as well when we do the validation on the third or the last day of the design sprint, whichever flavor of design sprint that you're running um, in your teams. So this webinar really is for people that are looking into doing design sprints. I am going to basically cover why run a design sprint in the first place, and what is some of the times that are perfect for you to run a design sprint. But before I jump right into it, if you're in South Africa, I'd like you to please join the Facebook and LinkedIn groups called Design Sprint SA. Just look that up on your Facebook or LinkedIn, or just use the hashtag Design Sprint SA to interact with me on any social media that you might have. So yeah, let's jump right into it. So what is a design sprint? So I guess before we talk about why design sprints, let's just have a quick overview of what is a design sprint. So a design sprint is a step-by-step process, um, in my own definition, to apply design thinking and really formalize the lean UX process, and having a step-by-step time constrained process for you to be able to come from idea to a validated prototype in just 1 week. Um, so some of the phases that we find in any flavor of the design sprint are basically the three phases, which is the understand and define phase, where we really unpack the problem and define what our target is for that week and what are we trying to solve. Phase two is really coming up with ideas. The sketch is also means ideate in my world. So we sketch and ideate some ideas and then decide on what are we going to prototype and validate as the third phase. So in a small nutshell, that is a design sprint. If you'd like to read more, just look up design sprint on Google. You'll find a ton of knowledge that people have been putting out there, and you can also look up on my website if you just want to read more about design sprints in the context of South Africa. So yeah, why a design sprint? Let's start there. So I guess for me, like I've mentioned, design sprints help you answer big problems fast, with really minimal company politics and friction. We've all been in those situations where it's really frustrating to deal with stakeholders and get decisions made due to just company politics or the project politics. And design sprints are a great way to remove that politics and sort of like have a clear conversation without friction. The other thing is that design sprints really allow teams to align and move quickly from idea to validating ideas and moving on. But I'll be really explaining some of the major things that I think are important in important use cases of the design sprint, and I'll be sharing about six of them. I'll see if I can come up with some other ones along the way, but yeah, I'm going to cover about six main use cases where I think design sprints are applicable, and other project that you're working on that could be a branding is that space where you cannot move forward. You have whether a decision that needs to be made or something else that's happening that's really blocking, the way for you to move on forward. And that is a great time to run a design sprints because it brings everybody together and sort of like forces people to make the right decisions, in a environment where it's a playing level field, it's time boxed, and there's less politics, and the conversation is really controlled. So when you have a block on your product project, whether it's getting decisions made or really just trying to get to the next step of your phase, and you don't know how to solve that thing, I think that is a great example where you can apply design sprints. Moving on swiftly, um, when you want to validate high risk project, so we all know that we have those projects that are very high risk. We all know that we have those projects that are very high risk, and these are projects that are humongous. And we know that there are main key components that, if we solve for in the project, um, or if we validate those ideas, we sort of get things right. So this could be projects that take millions of rands to develop. This could be very big apps, whether it's you're working with a client in the banking sector or any other big sort of market release. So design sprints are a great way to validate your high risk projects before you actually get to commit to putting a team down and committing to development frameworks and timelines and everything else that you need to invest in. It might be licensing of software and other stuff. So validating high risk projects is very easy to do with design sprints, and it's a very cool use case if you want to sort of build a business case for this high risk project and get sign off from the stakeholders in the company to move on with this high risk project. And it just helps you get customer feedback quickly and have a working prototype that you can actually showcase and show the responses that you got from the users. Now, the next one is a very touchy one, and I say that because right now in the framework of South Africa, we have, and I don't know about the rest of the world, the market in the rest of the world, we have a huge sort of like misalignment between UX and agile teams. It's like when agile teams, whether it's Scrum or Kanban, whatever it is, Scrum ban, I learned about that word today. Um, Whether you're running a scrum ban kind of thing, like UX is always seen as an initial thing or something that happens right in the end. It's not part of the process going, starting from inception throughout the project until you launch. So design sprints are a great way to incorporate UX design, customer research, and validation, idea validation into agile sprints. The best way that I've been experimenting to do this with is really incorporate the 3-day design sprint into a 2-week agile sprint as an ongoing basis way to keep on taking sort of like small bite-sized chunks of the project and validating each part of it before the features are built and taken into production. So running 5-day as an inception period of the project and incorporating the 3-day design sprint as an iteration method of incorporating UX design thinking, and validating your ideas in agile sprints. um, you know um, it's just a great way to incorporate UX design using design sprints. And it's a really cool process to do. So, a lot of agile teams, developers who want to learn a little bit more about the design process really feel that they're on board and really feel that they're involved. This really brings everybody to the party and really not only incorporates UX into agile teams, but also just makes better working, more aligned teams. So the next one is obviously when you want to improve an idea. Maybe you have a product that you already have and you feel that it's lacking somewhere, but you don't really know where. Design sprints are a great way to um, go in there and unpack what is currently happening and ways to improve, come up with methods and ideas and next actionable steps on ways to improve your product. And guys, remember, this is a week process with so much value around validating ideas, and the outcomes of it is really coming out with a validated working prototype that has been tested by real users. So that is the biggest part about design sprints. You know that the improvements that you're trying to put on your app is actually something that people would like. So your ideas won't just have to wait for the market to see and get response and learn after you've built the app and taken it into the market. And of course, if you just want to get some new ideas, design sprint is a great way to ideate and brainstorm actual ideas that you can prototype and validate. And I keep on emphasizing the prototyping and the validating part because I feel that is such a big part of every product or project, because you really have that idea solidified before you you commit to a higher investment. So yeah, when you want to improve your idea or get new ideas, use design sprints. So I spoke a little bit earlier on in the podcast. Well, if you're listening to this, it's a webinar actually. Sorry about that. So I spoke a little bit earlier on in the webinar about showing value initially when you're trying to validate high risk projects before you jump right into them. And the show and don't just tell is also a great way to incorporate design sprints. What I mean show and don't tell is that design sprints are actually a great way to have that small initial investment that you can use without a lot of approvals and stuff, to actually show how the idea is going to work, and not just bring a business case forward without validated ideas. So design sprints are a great way of coming up with these ideas, sort of like rectifying your ideas and making sure that when you take them out back to your stakeholders, you can give back, very constructive feedback around why that idea will work or why it will not work, and you can get the go ahead to do that project or not. I think it's more impactful to show people how the thing works, and also the responses and the videos from the usability interviews are a very powerful tool to create sort of like a executive reel of the highlights of the feedback that the project or the idea got. It's really a powerful way to just convey that message quickly in a quick feedback session. So the last one is really the obvious one, and I would say this is why design sprints were created in the first place in the startup environment. So when you want to create a product, a business, or just come up with any idea really, and this could be a physical product, this could be a digital product, this could be any number of things really. But design sprints basically help you level of solving what you're working on. And it just it just works in a way that you keep on moving forward without having too much debate, or having those ideas like this is my idea, and having too much emotional politics involved in the process. So if you're starting a company or a business, or if you're trying to come up with an idea of a product and are looking for a way to sort of validate if that thing is going to work, or you don't really know how to go about creating a product, a business, or develop your idea forward, I would suggest running a design sprint as a way to align the team that you have, and really find a way to come up with a goal that you can solve for as a starting point. So this is really the start point. Design sprints are a great way to start on any project that you're working on, just to help you really understand, align the team, and take the core features of your idea out really within a very short space of time. So, if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, please check out the post. I did a post about this topic on my website some time ago. I think it was back in May 13th is the date. May 13th, I did a post on my website. So if you would like to read that and just join the conversation and comment there, you can also listen to this as a podcast. Check out my podcast, Not a UX Designer, wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you listen to this on the podcast, you can check out my post and the webinar. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like to listen to more of these type of topics around design sprints and how to incorporate design thinking in the real world. I'll be talking to some guests in the future. I have some people that I've been talking to in the industry that I find really interesting, and we've been having conversations around featuring them on the podcast as well, on the webinars, to share some of the different flavors of design sprints in branding, in voice, and other parts of you know product design really. So please check out the podcast, please check out the post, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. So, where can you find me? You can follow me anywhere really, but I'm mainly active on LinkedIn. You can read my stuff on Medium. You can follow me and chat to me, check out what I'm up to almost on an everyday basis on Twitter. I'm not so much active on Facebook, but I really like to grow that community with the Design Sprint SA Facebook group. Please check out my Instagram and IGTV account as well. All of these places you can find me at Farama Henry. Check out my website, faramahenry.com, or you can email me directly at hello@vermahenry if you have any inquiries that you would like to discuss with me, or if you just like to meet up for a chat, preferably a beer. Thank you for listening. Catch you next time.